what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, and there's also a PayPal link in the info box below this video. But most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by P. Mars, The Plain Truth, Sleeping Warrior, Flat Earth Flattener, Eric, Daniel, and Chocolate Saying. Good to have you all.
Yo, yo, yo.
Hello, hello, hello.
Yo. Hello.
Hello. How's it going?
Good. Any signs of curvature, gentlemen?
Nope.
Not that I've seen.
Any signs of axial rotation, specifically of the Earth-based variety?
Nope.
Anybody at all? Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Nope.
No? Nobody got
Nope.
any great
No.
sun distance evidence? No? What about evidence that you can have a gas pressure without a container for all the people who believe there's a vacuum of space next to the gas pressure we breathe?
You can't have a gas pressure next to without a container, and you can't have a gas pressure next to a vacuum of space. Can't have it. You need a membrane.
Yeah, even if there was some sort of like force, gravity, I don't see how that would keep a pressure like that.
Excellent
Next to
segue.
a vacuum.
Excellent segue.
Also.
Any scientific evidence of gravity?
No.
Anybody at all?
No.
Any evidence that you can have a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
No.
No, the only thing close to that would be something like, uranium in the middle, but how would you prove that?
What about the all-elusive R value? Any evidence of Earth radius? In R, do they still trust?
No evidence. Are we done?
That's it, we're
Right
done.
behind the elusive curvature. Doesn't exist.
That was painless.
I have an update from Miles Davis. I was flicking through parts of his video to see if there was anything substantial in there apart from doubling down. And he says in his video, one of his videos, he says, he won't join Nathan Oakley's channel because, and basically, he doesn't like the fact that regardless of whether it's basically to do with Smackgate, regardless of the fact, and I do mean fact, law, right? Reasonable chastisement in UK law is permitted. Smacking of children is permitted. So regardless of whether he actually, in fact, slapped or smacked the child in question is irrelevant. It's compliance with the law. But Miles doesn't agree with compliance with the law. Miles thinks that that's wrong, even though it's lawful. So notwithstanding the fact that Nathan's issue, whether it's true or not, the fact is that even if it was factually true that he smacked Eleanor that time, that's actually legal in England. Reasonable chastisement, smacking of children is lawful.
Hey,
You guys don't like it, but if you're going to discriminate on the basis of complying with the law, that makes you a jerk. So, Miles, you are a jerk. Oh, and I'm pro smacking, by the way, just before you start giving me shit.
So Miles isn't coming to defend his position.
No, he says that you're unnecessarily rude, and he doesn't agree with your smacking of your child.
What about his
even though
channel
it's
being
lawful.
removed on the basis that he's put out a challenge, and if he's blatantly ignored the reply, which was directly addressed at you, then what's the point in putting out any more challenges or ever responding to Miles Davis? He's put out a challenge, you've responded, debunked him in no uncertain terms, presented it over the course of 2 shows, and what, he hasn't watched it?
Well, I've only just realised that was said. I was scanning through, like I say, I was scanning through his videos to see what if there was anything new, and I come across that line. He said that he doesn't want to join Nathan Oakley's video panel because he doesn't agree with smacking of children, even though it's lawful in the UK, and I'm pro smacking. And if you're going to deny that, or if you're going to make an issue out of compliance with the law, that makes you a jerk. But secondly, he says that you're too rude, Nathan. I mean, the guy's one of the most pretentious pricks I've ever met. But you're too rude. So.
Hold on, that's a total red herring. What about actually addressing the debunking? So, no, this is nonsense. Ultimately, his assertion's been pulled to pieces, and he's just offered up a red herring. Why is your channel still up?
Well, he did it. Well, he didn't. He said this in one of his previous videos, one of his earlier videos. Not when I say previous, in like 2 or 3 days ago. So it is relevant in terms of now. It's relevant for this. But he didn't say that he would remove his channel. He said he would remove all his videos and become a flat earther. So that's what he's expected to do: remove his videos and become a flat earther. And we're not seeing that yet, Miles. Why are your videos still up? Oh, because Nathan's rude and I don't agree with smacking children, even though it's lawful in the UK. Well, tough shit. You said that you would remove your videos if we could demonstrate how it was possible. But we've not only demonstrated how it's possible, we've demonstrated how your perception is impossible, despite your claims that it's possible, and impossible the other way around. So, Miles, not only is your video explained, it's demonstrated that your position is untenable, because it cannot be once you account for the angular size, which was my point in my response video to you at the beginning of Nathan's show the other day. I said that you haven't accounted for perspective, and you haven't given us the maths. And what Adam's gone and done is got the perspective maths and basically reduced the angular size accordingly. And what do you know? Everything in the picture matches flat Earth, like within a certain amount of like accuracy or whatever. But none of it matched, bar one that got a little bit close, but it didn't match. So everything matched on a flat plane. None of it matched on a sphere, and that's pretty much the position. But you believe that it's impossible on a sphere. Sorry, you believe that it's impossible on a flat plane. So what you've got to do, Miles, is come up with a good reason for why it is impossible, because we've demonstrated that the angular size reduction is calculable, and when we calculate it, that's proof, according to you lot. So calculating the angular size reduction proves that your video or photograph must be wrong. So let's see, why is it wrong? Say goodbye to your videos, and I've got the pint waiting for you at the bar with pork scratchings, Miles. I'll see you soon.
I think Ranty summed this up a few days ago, and it's like, this is like old news. We've been there, done that, bought the t-shirt. They're not even allowed to beg the question. So this is all kind of nonsense to me, personally. If you ask me, it means nothing. But he's offered up a challenge. You've took him up on it. And it's only a shame it's been tarnished by some dude that's been, putting up challenges that are easily debunked by Wolfie.
Well, hang on, allegedly debunked by Wolfie. Let's not give Wolfie credit, because I'm not sure that Ranty's position is right. I'm not saying he's wrong, but I'm sure that there was an issue with the meaning of the word maps. He requested maps as in paper format maps, like flat maps. And Wolfie said that he can't get them because they don't have them in cockpits anymore. For me, that's an issue. That's
no. Other people have done it. Other people have done it with flat maps, with real maps, not just Wolfie. So it's not just Wolfie. Well, then he went back on his original. Once the claim was met, he then showed an app that he was happy to use and for other people to use. And then Wolfie used that, and he actually did it again. And then he's actually admitted that that Wolfie has met all the conditions of the original challenge. He's admitted that, and then he's actually said, but now for part two. Part two of the challenge is for you to go and actually fly that route, right? But that wasn't in the description of the original bet or the original challenge. The original challenge didn't have any caveats to it or any part 2 or part 3. It just had one thing.
Let's
He
not
did.
promote Wolfie in any way, Ranty, because, well, he doesn't need any more subs, does he?
Well, no, but I'm just saying, you know, I mean, this guy's he's really giving flat earthers a bad name by what he's doing.
Well, no, he's not. He's just giving himself a bad name, if that's true. But in any event, he's not representing any. No one knows who he is, right? He could well be a plant.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I think he is.
Possibly. Well, let's not mention the W word, unless it's wanker, in relation to Miles. Because, Miles, you said that you would remove your content and you would join us if we could demonstrate that we could explain this on a flat earth. And we've demonstrated it and proved that it has to be the case if you account for perspective. And when we married it up against the ball earth claim, then it didn't. So that's an issue. So either debunk it, Miles, and show how it's wrong, or I'll see you in the pub. I'm only buying 1 pint, though. So,
yeah,
I don't know.
I think there's been a few commenters that have said if you believe Miles will do anything that he's promised, then you're just kidding yourself.
Well, no, but what we're pointing out is that Miles asked us to do an explanation, right? And it's been done. And unless you can debunk maths, and them guys put a lot of weight on maths because maths is reality according to them morons. So we thought, well, why don't we just calculate it? So we calculated it. So we applied the rules against them, and then we've declared that it's a debunk because of maths. Now, I'm all right with that because that seems to be their standard. So we've debunked it with maths. And in doing so, showed that actually the picture is completely what you'd expect if we lived on a plane.
Well,
and you can tell
well,
that
not
just
only
by looking
that.
at the big.
Sorry to interrupt. Not only that, it's actually an exceptionally good flat Earth proof.
It is. I agree with Ranty. It's a top 5. And what I'd like to do, actually, if Miles is fine with it, is to have the original copy of the photo, because I don't mind blowing that up and printing it off, because it's actually aesthetically beautiful to look at. Lovely colours of orange, all those flat bridges that are in there. It is a top 5 flat Earth proof, but he's just in pure denial that he's got this wrong, or he just won't accept it. So it's like the hand wave dismissal. It's like, it's got to be round. No, Miles. Maths is reality according to you guys. So you've got to debunk why the angular size reduction calculator is wrong. So good luck with that. Oh, and let's rally up people that are in flat Earth on the chat for now. Make sure that as and when you see Miles and Co knocking around, just basically bully him. Give him messages underneath saying, why have you still got flat Earth content on your video or ball Earth content on your channel? And why aren't you a flat Earther? You said you would be. Are you not a man of integrity or honesty? Because we've demonstrated and we've satisfied his requirements of his test. He's just ignoring it. Anyway.
Yeah, it might be worth reassessing some of the Isle of Man stuff.
Well, I think so, yeah. I think if we'd put that Mako Lighthouse thing in, and the fact that there's rocks underneath it, that means we're looking at the whole of the mountain according to them, or sorry, the whole of the lighthouse. So if we can do the calculation, I'm sure Adam would oblige with it. Oh, then again, I'm saying that. Would it work if you haven't got something in front of it?
Yeah, you'd need something to parallax it with.
Yeah, because you need a measurement, like a gauge next to it, so it wouldn't really work. But
I'm sure there's plenty to parallax it with in the Isle of Man composite. I'm sure it wouldn't be an issue.
Well, what I'm planning on doing is stealing Ranty's P1000 off him and going up there, because we're going up there in the next couple of days anyway. A couple of days off. Done a lot of work recently, so I'm having a break.
Well,
I'll carry on
you need to speak to me about that. I'm whoring out his camera for a small fee.
What, sorry?
Whoring it out.
It's £20, basically, Anthony. Just cough up and mum's the word.
Well, in any event, that P1000 is pretty cool. It's not worth £1,000 in my view, but
yeah, it's worth 20.
Worth 20,000.
No, 20 quid.
Yeah, it's worth 20 quid.
Yeah, cough up.
No, I think the Morgold Lighthouse, you know, the inferior mirage that's on it.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? That's hiding.
Yeah, I know. That was the bit that me and Nathan were always surprised at with Rumpus when we were having the back and forth over the Isle of Man. we knew that reflection thing was there, and we knew what that was, but we didn't know really what it was. We just knew what we could see, and although we couldn't explain it, we were waiting for them to bring it up, but for some reason they never brought it up. And it was like, I was like wondering, why did they not bring this up? Because this is really something that they should be trying to use against us, saying that, well, there's a mirage there and it's not really seeing all of what's underneath it. But for whatever reason, he didn't. And I think it's because that is the point where the angle gets to 0. Nathan, is that what you think? What do you think? I reckon Eleanor's climbing all over him and kicking him in the nuts and stuff.
So you think that's absolute 90-degree parallel where the inferior mirage starts?
Yeah, I think where that inferior mirage starts, I think that is 0. That is like the perfect 90 degrees to north or vertical or whatever. And I think that tells you what height I'm at. And we can tell it's halfway down the lighthouse. So we knew that the focal height of the lighthouse was 210 feet. And we knew that some way down it will be around about 180 feet. So somewhere behind that mirror band or whatever is the height that I'm at in some way, but the height that I'm at is being blocked by the mirage itself. So it's guesswork, but I think that's what it relates to. I think it relates to 0, the angle of 0.
Interesting. That might tally in with the observation that I took of the mast on the left where we had floaty land.
Right, I'm going to be a real pain in the ass. I'm
images.
sorry to do this to you, Ranty. I'm going to slow this conversation right down. So you're talking about these images, and I know you've both got them at your fingertips. I know they scroll by on my slides, but it'd be nice if you've actually got the pictures that you're talking about up. I know it's a pain.
Not entirely sure where mine are now.
Shout out to Tufted Trees.
Yeah.
Tuft of trees. It's been years since I've heard that.
That's when I came in. It was all about the Tufted Trees.
See, now that's nice trolling.
Tim
What's that?
Osman. That was Tim Osman that was Tufted Trees.
How do you know it was Tim?
Because he told me.
Well, that's nice trolling. Because we were arguing about whether this was a particular tuft of trees at the time or not, and whether it was this one or a different set. And really, it was totally subjective interpretation. You could argue it was, yeah, it was, no, it wasn't, and that's what we were doing. And Tim joined on a stock account called Tuft of Trees whilst we were arguing about it, and it was quite funny. Still a dick, though, but it was quite funny. Anyway, so let's have a topic to talk about other than Miles, because he's obviously not going to come in because
you just segued away from it. You were talking about the Isle of Man, and you were talking about the images that Ranty's just taken, how they compare.
Actually, I've just found the composite. I can share that.
Perfect. That's hopefully bought Ranty enough time to get up the picture he's just literally been referencing, that he's just taken on his Swish P1000.
That's right. I've got it ready.
Excellent. See, this is going to be much better. So you're up first, Ranty.
Yeah, so it's possible that, like you said, this 90-degree parallel might have something to do with that. If we look at where the inferior mirage starts, because I'm assuming pretty accurately that I'm about 50 feet above sea level when I actually take this this video, and then when we zoom into stuff over here, for instance, and we come to, where are we? Let me find the piece of land that I'm talking about. So it's over here. So when we come to this piece of land over here, and we've got this inferior mirage happening here, that could be around 50 feet. That could actually be starting at 50 feet in elevation.
Yeah, I wonder if it correlates to the height that you're at, where the middle of the mirage is.
And then when we come over to the lighthouse, I think I've got the lighthouse in here as well.
The bottom of the mirage is.
Let me just scroll through till I come. Oh, there we go. So we've got the lighthouse again, and it appears that it's happening just beneath the sand dune that's in front of it. So who knows? I don't think it's a 50-foot sand dune, because it can't be actually, no, because the focal height of the lighthouse is 69 feet. We have the full lighthouse in view, and then we have the the house that's just underneath it, and that's essentially on the waterline, the house. Although then again, it would have been at low tide, so who knows? It could well be. Who knows? It might be. It could be the height that I'm at is the height that I'm looking at this stuff in the distance where this inferior mirage starts. But it's absolutely happening in the air. It's not happening in the water. It's not happening over any curve. Interesting, because I know Anthony's starts at about the same. You know, it probably starts at around about 100 feet on his lighthouse at the Isle of Man. And that's where you were, wasn't it, Anthony? At the top of that hill?
It was.
Interesting. Anyway, so yeah, that's the observation that I was talking about, Nathan. This one, where we can obviously see we see it much clearer in a different video, but you see it all the way down to the floor. We see all the land and everything.
I mean, it injects a level of excitement because not knowing is kind of, if you know exactly what you're dealing with, then it's no fun. So now when someone comes in, if we were to argue the Isle of Man again, or revisit the Isle of Man, I'll just put your picture up, Anthony, we wouldn't be doing it in the same way we were doing it last time. So we didn't understand the logical fallacy that was being applied with the begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking, curve calculator. Now we do. So it puts a totally different spin on what we're looking at. I mean, we're just looking at the world. It's obviously and observably flat. I know that's obvious, but you know, if we were to reassess it, it would be about the questions that, like I say, these ballers have just ignored for 6 months and are now trying to slip back in under the radar like we had forgotten about them. It's crazy. It's like, no.
Oh, we got a new guest.
Hey, Jose.
Shout out to Jose JG Gonzalez.
Hey, Jose. How's it going?
I was going to say shout out retracted, but I like you, so.
Hey,
thank you.
Shout out.
What's up, Jose?
Can't retract a shout out for Jose. So yeah, they've started to slip these same fallacies in that we dealt with 6 months ago in the Isle of Man on the journey to figure out the logical fallacy. And now we understand how it works. Anthony's unpicked the calculator from within the calculator, and as soon as Miles puts an assertion, it took, 5 hours for you to be on the phone with me and Adam Meakin and all the rest of it to go through how they've excluded perspective, how he's just put it into a orthographic view, how he's looking at it 90 degrees side on to maintain the aspect so that everything's got actual sizes. And we know all these arguments. It boggles the mind why Miles would do this and offer up his channel or offer up his videos in exchange for this. Has he not been paying attention, or is he literally that short-sighted as to think that we have actually forgotten about picking apart the calculator and the way that he's presented this evidence? I mean, I don't get it.
Do you want to pop me on, Nath?
Yeah, sure.
I'll just show the audience.
Look how flat the Earth looks here.
The what,
So,
sorry?
I got a
MP?
picture of the flat Earth here. Looks very flat to me.
It is. It is very
So
flat. You're right.
So flat.
Thanks, P.
But
It is very
This,
flat.
so this inferior mirage is happening where my cursor is right now, and there we have a truck that's on a road behind this sand. There's a little bit of a sand dune just down here, and it looks like it's just off the beach. So
It might be too far left in the picture to see it actually, Ranty.
Oh right, you mean you can't see this truck?
Yeah, it's just off screen because it's right on the far right of your screen. There you go. You can see it now, but it's
Okay,
not. Obviously, it's
let me
not as
just
nice
try
a
and
shot.
get a frame that's there. We go. So the inferior mirage is happening right here where my cursor is, at the tip of it, and then we have the truck underneath. Now the truck has got to be 9 feet tall. Then we've got the sand underneath it, the beachy area. I mean, it's possible that it's at the same height as what I was when I was taking this video. So it could have something to do with that for sure. Might be worth trying to investigate that actually.
This is a much less distance than what I've got on screen now with Mackord Lighthouse. I mean, we're talking yours is about 17, 18 miles, and then this is about 31.
Yeah, I think it was 31 miles, but we've also got that inferior mirage happening on the lighthouse again. You can see the reflection of it's got like some of the quarters that the people stay in that man the lighthouse, and some steps to the side of it as well. So you both have that inferior mirage underneath it. So if you put dead center of that would be maybe around about 100 feet. Like you say,
Yeah,
maybe
so.
right in the middle.
I'm really looking forward to seeing what this looks like on a nice clear day with the P1000.
Yeah, me too. Nathan, present my screen if you would.
I am.
Right, so this is the composite that we all had the argument over, and Ranty made this, stitched it all together, and there was loads of arguments about everything. If it wasn't like pixel perfect, it was just dismissed, and it was never meant to be pixel perfect. It was just meant to give us a guide as a reference point to see what the other things were. But this is the lighthouse in question, and it's right in the middle of the picture, right? And shout out to Jeremy Waternaby for spotting this, Gem Panda 2012, I think it is, 2016 or whatever his channel's called. Because he spotted that this was the lighthouse, and this became a massive focal point for a lot of the discussion, because the argument is I was at the height of what was the highest height? I think it was about 100, at the absolute worst, about 100, 115 feet.
Shout out retracted.
Yeah, shout out, well done. So at the highest of highest heights, you should not see any of the lighthouse, not even the roof tiles, none of it's visible, but we can clearly see that the lighthouse is in the picture. The argument was, how much of it are we seeing, and what's the cause for it? Why is it refraction, right? But the bit that, and this went on for weeks and weeks and weeks, but the bit that nobody realizes, or is for some reason just didn't gain the traction for whatever reason, is that I was challenged to go back and get some evidence from the beach, which was related to the floaty land at the north. But with regards to this this lighthouse, you can see that on the original composite picture, you've got this little band of houses. And you can see the band of houses is repeated here. And you can see that the lighthouse is here. And again, you can see the lighthouse appears in the picture here. But the problem is, if I was at 100 feet for when I took this observation, this is down on the car park, which is like clearly not at 100 feet. It's right next to the caravan site itself. Full 360, it's the final fence post. And it's literally, the beach is just below us here. And on this day, it was a really clear day again. It wasn't quite as clear as it can be at times. I've seen better, but you can see that was the picture then. So if as I'm zooming in, you can see that. I'll try and get it to match. There you go. So there's that blob of houses that matches that blob of houses. That's the lighthouse again. Now, if I was at 100 feet or 115 feet or whatever it was before at the highest of cliffs or highest hills, I'm definitely not at that now. Miles Davis has done a video that he claims he was merely at 40 feet. Now, at 40 feet, he was actually at 30 feet. But who cares? Let's say it was 40, right? That's not 100 feet. But at 115 feet, worst case scenario, and we're seeing the lighthouse. And look, now I'm seeing that the lighthouse is down from the ground, and it's just another clear day. But it gets worse. We can see that there is that mirroring. See how the land is mirroring back on itself. And we've seen that before. We've seen that before with hang on. Get rid of that. We've seen that before, of course, with Soundly stuff. We've seen that Soundly stuff bends back on itself, and it's claimed to be the curvature of the earth. But we see the bending back here, and it's something to do with bringing things down. Phuket Word showed that on top of the reservoir, you got the same effect, and I'm getting it here. But the point is, again, we're seeing the lighthouse. So we can't see that lighthouse if the Earth's curved, because even at the 100 foot in elevation, we couldn't bring it back. Not even the roof tiles. They brought back roof tiles with exaggerated refraction, and then that debunked it in their eyes. But no, it doesn't change the fact that light doesn't bend the way that they say it does. But even if that was a debunk at 100 feet, I'm down to about 30 to 40 feet at this point, and I can still see the lighthouse. So there's clearly no curvature, and the picture's pretty much consistent. Okay, it's different weather conditions at the time, and we can see that band of refraction again. We can see that there's mirroring going on. And all right, we don't really understand it, but it's definitely not the curve of the Earth, because if it was the case it was curved, you wouldn't get a repetition of the same picture. It can't happen. So there's no curve. None of this should be seen. The water level that's above on this height should have been completely above it. None of it should be seen. But now I'm down to 40 feet, so the water level should be higher, and it should be right up here somewhere, because that would be the curve of the Earth.
How come I've never seen this video before?
Sorry, just want to add one more thing. Ranty, sorry to pester you. Can you go back and get the red pill philosophy still? I'll give you a bit of fill time to talk about it. We also now understand that the angle that you view at has a massive bearing on what you're going to see in terms of how squashed it will get closer to the limited viewing angle at the bottom of anything, causing it to disappear from the bottom up, but prior to it doing that, it will squash and squash and squash. So an example of this is taken by Red Pill Philosophy. I'm just going to put Ranty's screen up, and I don't know if you take the honours, Ranty, if you can just detail what you're seeing. It's pretty obvious, but yeah. Well,
we just see the floors being compressed, essentially, when it gets nearer to the perceived horizon, to the point where one of these floors, this entire floor here, which obviously is not the floor we're looking at, but we have another floor right here, it's just a sliver. It literally is a sliver. Very small one here, a little bit bigger, but you can definitely see that these floors are being compressed.
So Nathan, flip back to mine, please.
Yeah, sure.
So back to this picture then. If what Ranty's saying, and it's obvious that the floors are being squashed, maybe it's the case that we're seeing all of the lighthouse and the rocks below it, but it's just being compressed for whatever reason. But also maybe there's mirroring going on at this time instead of the compression or whatever. But whatever's going on, the fact that you get this same image, but from the 40 feet that Miles claims, which I said was only no more than 31 feet. But in any event, the picture's the same. And it can't be the same if there's supposed to be curvature of the Earth. Because remember how they all say, demand that the observer height is critical, right? Well, if it is critical, and I believe and I accept that if it was a ball, it is actually critical. If observer height's critical, then this cannot happen from the car park, which is only 30 to 40 feet high above water. So, yeah, okay, you can argue that this was debunked if you wish. I mean, it wasn't, but you can argue it and believe it if you want. But the fact remains that even when I wasn't at the highest height and I was down on the car park, I can get the same footage. I just need a clear enough day. And if I can get the same footage and I see the clear enough day, then something else must be going on, because this is not a continuous variable. It's not the same horizon line from the two elevations if the observer height is critical.
I've got the observer height on screen now, so this is the height of the hill. I've been there. And literally where I don't know if hopefully it's on screen, roughly there is where Anthony took. You can see the shore at the bottom. But we measured this, physically measured it with the tape measure.
Sure. I mean, do you remember when we had the argument with, was it Lottie or I can't remember who it was, but to do with how high the caravans were on the car park?
Yeah.
And it was about, I can't remember the ins and outs of it now, but it was about 30 feet, right? If we're going to compare it, if we're going to get the same footage from 30 feet, it can't be the same at 100 feet. Because the curve's got to be the variable that is being adjusted by changing your elevation. You have to see that hump rise. You can't get the same footage. So you can see the triangle that's on screen right now. And that screen on the row of caravans that in that corner is where I took it from. And it's lower than the highest hill. And the ballers just refuse to accept it. But it doesn't change the fact that this is impossible on a sphere. It's impossible. Now, unless there's something crazy going on and I've just managed to get a perfect storm. Now, let's not forget, I was challenged to go back and get the floaty land at the north from the beach, and I went back and got that from the beach. And again, there's just been a hand wave dismissal. Slice Barcane kicked me from his hangout when I challenged him on how to explain this. And I said he'd kick me. And what do you know? He kicked me. And when he kicked me, it was because, in his words, it was a mirage. Well, you're going to kick me because something's a mirage, right? Not argue that it's a mirage. You're just going to kick me because I say it's not a mirage. Really? So who's the dishonest people here? Is it us for trying to prove things that don't seem to match the sphere of the Earth? Or is it the ballers for literally not accepting the evidence that's presented when it's challenging their own perceptions and views and beliefs, otherwise known as cognitive dissonance? So what is the shape of the Earth? Is it a ball? Of course it isn't. Is something else going on? Of course it is. Is it flat? Possibly. Maybe not. But it's definitely not a ball, and it's definitely not the ball the size they're telling us it is. Something else has to be going on.
The ball earthers do accept the evidence. The flat earth side is the one that deny all the evidence.
I've just given you 4 good examples where that wasn't the case, P. How could you come out with a stupid comment like that?
Oh, I just tune everything you say out.
Oh, right.
That's
That's
what P. Mars does.
I want to shout out to Renee. He kept coming back to try to debunk the Isle of Man and locate the houses and stuff. Remember that? Boom. And then he never brought any evidence of the satellites. That was awesome. Every time Renee show up, yeah,
the Icelandic guy, wasn't it?
yeah,
What was his name? Renee?
Renee, yeah. He get like, no, I know. Wait a minute, I know.
That was a really good impression.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, we have the rumpus.
I gotta go. I got like 2 minutes. I know. Wait a minute.
That's really
I heard when I plug in my headphones when I get off work, I heard something about challenges and stuff like that, which I don't agree with none of them. That's why I disagree with Mr. Thrive and Survive the way the first video he put challenging Soundly on. I think the first video he say, I'm gonna go to Pontchartrain, I'm gonna take footage, and if I catch the same phenomena that Soundly catches in his videos, the bendy bridge and the pylons, I will become a globe earther. You know, I will leave Flat Earth behind and I will announce it. And then he started backtracking and putting other videos, and he kind of, I don't know where that is at, but yeah, that wasn't good for the first challenge, saying if he catch the same footage, he will go back to the ball, and then he backtracks. So I don't know. I would like to know where he had this.
It's hard to go back to the ball because you lose all your flat earth friends will start bullying you. Like with Tiger Dan.
Pete, I would rather be on your side of the fence and battling the stupid flat earthers if there was credible evidence that it was actually a sphere. The fact remains that there isn't. There's one bloke in Pontchartrain that claims that it's the curvature of the Earth, but we all know that that's a swamp, right? We know that the rate of evaporation is going to be high on hot days. And I don't know what's going on with Pontchartrain, but if Pontchartrain was true at 18 miles, these observations that I've just literally presented on screen right now were at 31. So the curve has got to be consistent, right? And it means that lighthouse cannot be visible. Now, if you're going to argue that bendy light and bendy water, well, yeah, okay, show that curve, because everybody accepts that light travels in straight lines, but for a negligible amount of deviation from straight. That's applying Fermat.
You would have to prove
light.
You have to prove that the lighthouse should not be visible, but you haven't done that.
Yeah, we've done it millions of times. What are you talking about?
No, you haven't. You've never proven that these things that you claim we shouldn't be able to see on a ball, that we actually shouldn't be able to see them. You just make the claim and you don't.
Not should be able to see. Sorry, Pete, you're confused. Not should be able to see on a ball. They shouldn't be able to be seen on a ball. But we do see them there in the photograph. That's why the trolls and globers descend on us when we present these things. If they just couldn't be seen and it was all cool, then no one would care.
Right. But you haven't proven that they can't be seen on a ball.
What are you talking about? They're supposed to be... Oh, I love these moments, P. Obviously forget so soon the 170-foot wall of Earth curve that should be between us and that object.
Why would you say that, P? I don't understand why you would say that. Did you?
You haven't
argument?
Because all the things you say you shouldn't be able to see on a ball, in my opinion, you should be able to see them on a ball. So I think your claim is inaccurate or a lie or whatever you want to frame it.
So we should just all accept your opinion instead of evidence. Thanks.
Yeah, because that's the argument I made, clearly. But thanks for the straw man, Chocolate saying. Really appreciate your straw man.
Thanks for your opinion, which I should take as evidence. Thanks.
No, take Riley and Nathan's opinion. Don't listen to me.
Don't take opinions.
No, I'd rather evidence.
Yeah,
they don't have
it. It's all right. No worries. We'll do it right here, right
now.
Yeah,
you don't.
No worries. We'll run the numbers. P, just for you. We'll beg the question and use the proof of nothing perspective hijacking curve calculator and the height that Anthony was at and the lighthouse hat. Let's do it. You got the Dizzy hub or whatever it is, Anthony. We'll have a little look. We'll see whether or not we should see this lighthouse.
Right. So we all remember the distance. It was 31 miles, wasn't it? And it was 210 for the focal height. So, I mean, let's start with the basics. Margold Lighthouse. We're just going to get the focal height. I think it was either 205 or 210 feet. In this column down here. So the focal height was 213 feet. Okay, so we'll call it 210 because it's easy for me to remember. So DizzGub, curve calculator, because this is the one that is so the eye height. I think we had the highest possible ever that I could ever get to without being 20 feet tall was about 115. The distance was 31 miles, and when we click calculate, the hidden height should be 212. So 213 feet. So maybe it was maybe I can't remember what the original. Oops, I can't remember what the original feats were. Maybe we used 100, and then they argued that the absolute lowest of low tides, which it wasn't at, but maybe that's what the
No, you've got the numbers right. 115 at the absolute maximum for your viewer height. 31 miles for the distance. The amount that's hidden is what? 200 and what? Sorry, I can't read it at this distance.
It says 212.9, so it's 213. So basically, none of that lighthouse should be seen.
Right.
Is this the scientific method?
Sorry, excuse me, P. Let's just have the picture of the lighthouse again.
What's your independent variable?
Excuse me, you've just said
you've
not ever demonstrated that any of this stuff should not be seen on a ball. Were you not happy with that demonstration of it not being there on your model because it should be obscured by Earth curve?
No,
it's just a math. It doesn't prove anything.
Sorry,
you could
what do you think your model is? What do you think your model is?
But the thing is, though, P.
Hold on, Anthony. Hold on. P has told us that he's never ever had it demonstrated. When there's a picture of something, there's Mackled Lighthouse. We've just gone and run the numbers, whether or not it's physically visible on a ball, and it's not. P.
But
no one talked but P.
You're not using the scientific method to prove
Sorry,
that.
did you say to us, show us scientifically that it's not visible on a sphere, or did you just say you've never shown that on our model it's not visible? Because that's what we've just done. Now you're saying you've got to move the goalpost to scientifically disproving something, like you even understand what science is. We've done precisely what you have said we have not done.
This doesn't prove to me that you shouldn't be able to see it.
Well, does it prove that we have indeed shown that this stuff isn't visible on a ball, but there it is?
And even if you're going to argue,
hold on, Anthony. I want P to concede. We have absolutely shown your shit proof of nothing model doesn't have that lighthouse visible. Yet there it is, and I want you to concede it. You've just said we don't show this ever. We've done it at the drop of a hat.
You haven't proven to me.
Sorry, you said we have never shown that it doesn't appear on a ball. You said you've never shown that none of this stuff is appearing or disappearing on a ball. We've just done it. Why are you being a wanker? Why aren't you conceding this, P? We've just done it.
This doesn't prove anything to me.
I didn't ask that. You said we'd never shown that this stuff should not be visible on a sphere. Yeah, we have. Now I want you to concede that. I don't care what it proves. I couldn't give a shit. This proves nothing. If you want me to go on about what it proves or disproves, your model proves nothing. It's a begging the question fallacy. We haven't even got into the perspective that you exclude when we do it just how you would have us do it and how Miles has done it in his most recent shit proof of nothing. Right? It doesn't prove anything, so let's get straight past that nonsense and get straight to the bit where you asserted we've never demonstrated this. Now we've done it for you personally, here and now, live, in front of 200 people plus. So, concede now.
You haven't demonstrated that this object can't be seen. That's the problem.
Yes, we did. Sorry, what kind of idiot are you? Did you not understand the demonstration we just did for you? Are you too stupid to get the demonstration? Is that why you're asserting we've never done it? Because you're too thick to get it.
What is the demonstration?
We just did it. Are you too stupid to understand what we just did?
What are you doing?
Are you too stupid to get it? Is that why you're asserting we've never done it? Because you were too stupid every time before when we did it?
Maybe I'm too intelligent.
No, you're too stupid. If you don't get what I've just done to the point where you won't concede it because you still think we haven't demonstrated it, then you are a retard.
That's just like your opinion, man.
No, I have demonstrated that you cannot see Moor Gould Lighthouse on your bullshit sphere religion ball. Now I want you to concede. We have demonstrated this. It's been demonstrated on multiple occasions. This is just the one we were talking about right now. There's better examples from Ranty since this, right?
There isn't.
But this particular example is the one we were talking about when you piped up like the retard you are and said we'd never demonstrated this. We have. That's the bit I want you to concede, having just demonstrated it to you. And unless you are retarded, then you will understand that we have indeed just demonstrated that on your model, this lighthouse is not visible.
Well, if you can really demonstrate that, why don't you demonstrate it to some scientists?
Sorry, that's not the standard that
demonstrate
you
it to
down. So you're a goalpost moving asshole. Aren't you, P?
No, if that's
P,
true,
did you say give us scientific anything? Or did you say you've never shown that this stuff isn't visible on a ball? We have. We've just done it again. And now, like the asshole rumpus that you are, it's time for you to leave. Because you're a disingenuous asshole. And you've only come here to smear and lie. So we have demonstrated this on multiple occasions. Your model is garbage. It doesn't work. Even when we let you beg the question in its rawest form and just use the maths exactly as they are, looking 90 degrees adjacent, not performing viewing functionality, it still fails. And yet when we demonstrate it to this asshole P-Mars live, he still won't concede, moves the goalpost and says I haven't debunked it scientifically. What an asshole globehead religitard. You don't deserve to be here anymore, P. You're just a wanker. You demanded that we had never proven this. We did it live and you still wouldn't concede. What an asshole.
Let me just finish off. When we did the curve calcs then at the worst possible height that I could possibly have been at, the argument was that they brought back the roof tiles. So the roof tiles, therefore, was the whole building. And we say no. So that was why I went back and got it from a lower observation. So when we did the maths, or when I just did the maths, around about, on the video, I've said 40 feet. And on the maths at the side, I've just put 35 feet. It depends on where the water is. But it's not that much of a difference. But the point is that when I'm at this lower elevation, basically 376 feet of it should be missing. Well, its focal height is 210. So if double that again, you're going to get 420, and 376 should be gone. So it's basically double the height of what we see. So you can double it up there. It's going to put the water horizon intersecting this, like these buildings here. Now you can't get away from that. That's what has to happen if we live on a ball. So you can just go, I don't accept it for reasons. Or you can say, well, clearly something else is going on here. Who's got the burden of proof? All I did was show what I could see, and it was a clear day. That's all I said. But the point is, over 30 miles, if Soundly's observation is true, over just 16 to 17 miles, then I should be getting that same level of curvature where I am. And this is at 30 miles. It's double. There's a lot more curve missing. There's a lot of curve that's supposed to be there. So there's a lot of buildings that should be missing. But what do you know? The buildings that should be missing are not actually missing. So that tells me that Soundly must be wrong because he's only doing it over 16 miles, and it can't be. It's not consistent. So why am I failing to validate the distance work that Soundly does when I'm just observing something that I can see locally? It's not the same, but it needs to be if we're on a ball. So the evidence, so you can dismiss it with a hand wave, like P-Mars does, like George does, like Jeremy does, like what's his name, Miles Delia Davis does. They all dismiss it with a hand wave, but it doesn't change the fact. Fact is, we can see these buildings and we shouldn't be able to see them because they should be behind Earth curve. All right, there's a little bit of obstruction at the horizon, and we're working out that that's something to do with the observer angle. And basically, that's what you guys all believe is curvature. But you refuse to accept that if it was actually the curvature, It should be up here somewhere, cutting into these buildings that are in here. That's where the curve is meant to be. So it's clearly not curvature of the Earth that we're arguing about. It's somewhere else. But any obstructions curve for you morons.
And I just want to pick up a point that Rumpus has just said, which is you're denying refraction, right?
No, we've accounted for refraction.
No, he says
it isn't worth considering.
Well, here's another thing that's going to be happening in the next year with me moving forward, and this is the observations looking over towards Barrow in Furnace. So, am I displaying, Nate?
You are?
I am, right, perfect. So, on the left-hand side, we have the image when it was a clear day, and on the right-hand side, we have the image when it was a poor day. We've heard many a time that this is curvature of the Earth, this is refracted. These buildings are being refracted up. When the mast was visible and the land in one, and it wasn't in another, there should have been about 30 foot of earth curve in the way. Conveniently, roughly at the height of where this inferior mirage was. In any event, look at the thing in the foreground, which we can now measure against. We now have this post in the foreground, which will become a focal point for me, because whenever I can see shore to shore again, I'm going to go back and I'm going to use this post from the same spot and take an image of Devonshire Dock Hall in the distance and BAE Systems, the building here. And I will be able to measure just as I am now and show you that there is absolutely no refraction, no looming going on. This building is not being lifted up beyond the curvature of the Earth. In either image, they're consistent, except on one, it has this massive inferior mirage in it. On the other, we just see the buildings, even down to the shore. We see right into the buildings, right into the shoreline here. There's the water behind it, behind this peninsula of sand dunes that's here. So, yeah, so Rumpus. So this is all going to be coming forward, and in the next year, we'll be able to look forward to doing all this. Using this post here, I can measure, just like I am now with this, exactly if there is any looming going on, any refraction, any buildings being lifted up beyond the curvature of the Earth. And this can be measured and repeated over and over and over.
Get some clarity from Rumpus. So he says there is refraction. Yeah, we understand that. There is refraction. So what you're describing, though, Rumpus, would be terrestrial refraction. 7, 6, R. All you need for that, my friend, is to prove R. Same with the calculator. If you're going to use the begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking curve calculator to prove curve, then you first need to prove R, because that's what the calculator is based on. It's just a begging the question fallacy if you're to assert that things that we see that we can easily explain with the angle of attack, i.e. the lower the angle, the more compressed it becomes, like we showed earlier when you asked about the missing 40 meters. Yeah, well, that gets compressed the further you go away as the angle limits. We know this now. We also know that your calculator that you seem to like referring to takes things into an orthographic view. It doesn't perform viewing functionality as you would put it, Rumpus. So, when we start accounting for perspective, things go very badly, as Miles has just found out. When you include perspective, things should be long gone. They're in very different positions. They don't match up with the sphere Earth when you add the perspective that we do see when we take pictures of things. So things are looking bad if you're a glober. Rumpus can try and obfuscate all of these points as he does continually and has done for the last 4 years, but it won't make any difference. We know your calculators are begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking curve calculator. The clue is in the title, curve calculator. Every outcome's a curve because you've begged the question and assumed a radius. So we just need that proof of R, the R value that we don't see any proof of, before we can beg the question and use that calculator again now, don't we? But just to humiliate people like Miles, we'll include a bit of perspective. Get some perspective on your calculator and suddenly it falls to pieces, as Miles is finding out. But he won't get rid of his channel, videos, whatever he's claimed he'll get rid of, because you're all liars, every last one of you. We all know it. You're only here to deny reality. That's all you guys can do. Claim that R is God. Well, it's not. We don't need to beg the question and assume a radius value when we look at things that we can see. And based on your assumption of an R value, you say the tile's coming back. No, no, no. It's actually a refraction effect based on terrestrial refraction. 7-6 of the begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective omitting, curve calculator and its presumed radius that you're going to add 7/6 of that radius to bring things back where they should be there and are not on your crappy model. So Rumpus, big fail. Miles failed because he thought we'd forget about the fact that you've got an orthographic calculation that just hijacks perspective. No, we didn't forget. Yeah, that's why we were on it like flies on shit. And Miles, if he's true to his word, will be deleting his videos because it doesn't match up with the sphere. When you take into account the fact that things get smaller into the distance. No, things aren't actual sizes like your calculator would give us the readings for. Things do genuinely get smaller with distance. Perspective is real and is there when you take a picture of things like Miles did, undoing his sphere religion. Unfortunate for Miles. But he won't delete anything because he's a liar. We all know that. That's why he's called Miles the Liar Davis.
Well, Rumpus is still under the impression that R has been scientifically validated. I mean, even when the creator of the calculator himself said that he uses a presupposition, and Rumpus still believes that. I don't get that. Guy himself, who created the calculator, said that it's a presupposition, but you still believe that it's validated. Like, you don't make sense, Rumpus, at all.
I've got plenty of sound bites of Rumpus saying, yes, we have to presuppose the radius.
It's just nonsense.
Well, he got caught out lying yesterday. I didn't even let him on yesterday's live show on account of the fact that during the interval, he basically said that he'd applied the perspective conversion to the Isle of Man stuff. I know full well that when he used his calculator, it was basically an identical representation of Mick West's calculator and absolutely did the same function. It didn't perform viewing functionality now, did it, Rumpus? But you still use those maths when looking at our Isle of Man pictures. Pity that you lied and claimed that you had done a perspective conversion when all these shows are still available. Go and have a look at show 77 and 78 where Rumpus is there using the standard maths to say that we should or shouldn't see this stuff. Right? Lying sack of garbage.
I mean, he just said it again in the chat. Like, Rumpus, are you all right, man? What's wrong with you? That globe must be like crack for you guys, man. Seriously.
I've just posted in the chat the pre-show and uncut first show. So if there's any late risers who are watching this broadcast, when it ends live in a few minutes' time, you can click on that link that's scrolling its way by on the chat. Or if you're not quick enough to catch the one in the chat, go to the info box and there's a link to my second channel and subscribe to that, which is called Nathan Oakley, and you'll catch the uncut shows. And what I do now is rebroadcast the first show for any of the late risers straight after the second live show finishes, also with the pre-show. And in this instance, Arwin, who's not here at the moment, I just tuned into his show, and you'll catch a bit of the early bird show, so also check out Arwin's channel, but that will go out on a premiere. I've just literally published the link to that, so that'll go out at about 4:15 when this show finishes. So subscribe to Nathan Oakley if you've not done so already, and hopefully someone else on the panel will get the last word in before we round out this show.
Nathan, can you tell us how we find the bits of the show that are on the other channel where it records the intercession between the two shows?
Well, it's either at the beginning or the end, depending on which show it is. So, for example, yesterday when the Rumpus joined, that would be on the beginning of 6:03. This is 6:05, right? So yeah, two shows prior, yeah, 6:03. And at the beginning, I do my intro and then just go across the panel, and immediately there's a massive blazing row going on between Ranty and Rumpus, with Ranty being told that he's a complete idiot because he's never done a 3D to 2D conversion, just some red herring distraction. And then, like I say, I asked him, where did you do this on the Isle of Man? And he was like, oh, there's no need. We're looking at actual sizes. It's just perfect, you know. But we know these arguments. Ranty keeps saying it. It's old, man. This is so 2017. Keep up with the
But-
times, ballers, man. Don't just rinse and repeat. Come up with something. Come on. It's 2,000
But
years
moving-
of globally
moving
behind you.
forward,
Say
moving
again.
forward, Nath. Moving forward over the next 6 months, my new challenge is going to be to disprove looming and this refraction nonsense. So I will be doing my observations, but using that post as a reference.
Hang on a sec.
Yeah.
You can't disprove something that they can't prove.
Well, I can prove that the effect isn't in play. If
I think they need to prove that something that's loomed behind the curve can be demonstrated to be loomed back up from behind the curve.
Well, I want if it's going to be loomed, then that building will be substantially above the post at a given time. If I'm taking the image from exactly the same spot or a video every single time that I go along and seeing that post, and it is at exactly the same height up that building, then there is no looming or refraction going on lifting those buildings up.
It's not for us to prove, though. They've got to prove that something gets loomed up from behind a curve.
Sorry,
and they
this is
can't
all
do it.
meaningless. Their refraction bears no semblance of meaning to what the atmospheric conditions might be doing. It is terrestrial refraction. 7/6 of the begging the question radius value.
Oh, the looming is always there, apparently.
It's always 7/6R, right? It's 7/6R. It's just a begging the question fallacy on steroids. So, totally. Nobody died, nobody got hurt, nobody was smacked. So it's just a begging the question fallacy on steroids. 7/6R, terrestrial refraction. Just if this ever comes up in conversation, they're like, refraction exists. Well, no, that's a parallel that they're trying to draw with their refraction, which is labelled terrestrial refraction. So just ask them, are we talking about terrestrial refraction? Well, isn't that just an arbitrary 7/6R? Where'd you get the R from? What's R? Oh, radius. Where'd you get that from? Oh, really? You just presuppose it, do you, in this calculator? Why? Aren't you trying to prove that? Why is it there already? Isn't that like assuming your outcome if you've already got the outcome? Like begging the question? Oh, it is begging the question. It's exactly begging the question. Oh, right, that's why it's called the begging the question. Proof of nothing. Perspective hijacking. Curve calculator. Clue is in the title. Curve calculator. So you already know there's a curve, do you? Wow, that's very interesting. I'd call that assuming your outcome. Begging the question. But what do I know? I know we win these arguments a lot.
Hey, I'd like to say for everyone to subscribe to Vegan Goy and Kin L. They have some exciting conversation going on in their shows, and it's great.
Cool. Well,
Droppies. I just flat smacked a pilot, yo.
Cool.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is
Hopefully you'll tell us about it in the after show. As I say, the people who are watching live get the privilege of watching the first show if they haven't already. There's a live chat that runs along with that. And a super chat. Smash that super chat in the back channel. Anyway, I'm going to round out with this live show and then hopefully you guys will hang around to chat with me in the after show. So with that, I'm going to say first and foremost a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible, and in no small way to the live chat for also egging us along and keeping the conversation spicy. And of course a massive thank you to all the live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate. If you hated the show, then you know exactly what to do. Probably done it already, but if you liked it, maybe consider sharing it with a friend or subscribing if you've not done so already. Be sure to tune in to my backup channel with the original broadcast going in about 10 minutes time. I've been Nathan Oakley and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!